All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Sam Frank. I'm with Art Street Communications. We are helping Equinor with all sorts of engagement, public outreach for their multiple offshore wind projects. And we're here tonight to talk about the onshore substation at South Brooklyn Marine Terminal. A few sort of housekeeping notes to go over really quick before we get started. There is a translation caption button at the bottom of your Zoom screen if you need translation. Also, if and when you have questions, please put them in the Q&A button on the bottom of your Zoom screen as well. And we are recording this meeting for our records, for everyone's information. And as I just mentioned, this is for the onshore substation at South Brooklyn Marine Terminal for a particular sort of permit called SPDES, which stands for the State Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. And now I will pass it over to Josh. Am I passing it over to you?
Yeah, you sure are.
Okay, please go ahead. Thank you, Josh, and thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us for this meeting regarding the SPDES permit for the Empire Wind Onshore Substation. I'm Josh Verloon. I am Director of Permitting for Empire Wind. So I oversee permitting on the federal level, covering the offshore wind farm and transmission system, the state level, as well as the local level. Holly, next slide. So I'm going to start with a bit of an overview of Equinor and who we are. Then I'm going to get into the project, the Empire Wind 1 project that is located at the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And then I will hand it over to our technical expert to talk a bit about the SPDES permit and the dewatering program that will be undertaken as part of the construction of the substation in Sunset Park. So to start out, Equinor is an international energy company based in Norway. Equinor has been in the US since the 1980s. There are more than 22,000 employees of the company spread amongst 30 different countries. Equinor has projects across the world and has expertise in project development, global logistics, and a particular expertise in offshore development of major infrastructure projects. Equinor has had 50 years of experience working in the offshore environment. And just to give some context, Equinor just celebrated our 50th year. So that's all years of existence. Equinor has been working in offshore environment. And in terms of offshore wind, Equinor has 10 years of experience in offshore wind. We have in the Northeast, we have projects Empire 1 and Empire 2, as well as the Beacon Wind project. We were also recently awarded a lease area off of California, and we'll be working to develop an offshore wind project off the central coast of California. There are also quite a number of projects either in development or operation offshore wind across the globe, including in Europe and quite a number of other regions around the world. Next slide. So just to give some context to what I was just speaking of around Equinor's footprint, the main sort of hub of the Equinor's renewables business, which houses offshore wind development, is in Stamford, Connecticut. We have a New York project office, which is located in Sunset Park in the Industry City area, right across from South Brooklyn Marine Terminal. And you can see this little pie-shaped object is the Empire Wind lease in the federal waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Next slide. Empire Wind 1 is an 816 megawatt project with a capacity to power more than 500,000 New York homes. Landfall from the, could we go back one slide?
Yep.
So landfall, once that power is generated out in our offshore lease area, will be funneled through export cables, which will be buried in the sea floor, which I will speak about on the next slide. But it will make landfall at the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal in Sunset Park. So this overview kind of shows all of the various components of the wind farm. So we have the wind turbine generators that will be installed in the lease area that was on the previous slide. The turbines generating power, all of that power will be collected, fed through inter-array cables, which are within the wind farm, and collected in an offshore substation. From there, export cables will bring the power ashore. These cables will start out in the federal waters, be buried beneath the sea floor, transition to New York State waters, about 3 nautical miles off of the coast of New York, and come ashore, where they will come into the onshore substation located in Sunset Park at the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal. SBMT will house both the substation as well as an offshore wind staging port, where the components for the wind turbines will be gathered and prepared to be brought out to the wind farm during construction, and will also house an operations and maintenance base once the wind farm is operational. From the onshore substation, there are interconnection cables that travel about 0.2 miles through 2nd Avenue in the Sunset Park area, connecting into the broader transmission system within New York City at the Con Edison Gowanus substation, which is also in the Sunset Park area. Next slide. So this aerial slide, this aerial image shows both the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, which will, as I mentioned, will be developed into a staging port, as well as the area of the onshore substation, which will be located directly adjacent to the wind port. Next slide. So from sort of the existing conditions, this slide shows what the port will look like when it has been fully developed, as well as the onshore substation when it has been developed. For context, the substation area, which is the subject of tonight's meeting, is on the sort of lower right-hand side of the diagram, kind of right below where there's some green areas depicted to show vegetation. So we have the substation. Directly to the left of the substation buildings is the operations and maintenance space, which I referenced, and then all of the other equipment is associated with the staging port, which will service both the Empire project as well as future projects, Empire Wind 1, Empire Wind 2, the Beacon project, and then will be available for the offshore wind industry as a facility to support this growing industry in the US. Next slide. So that brings us, I believe, to the conclusion, and I will throw it over to Sean for a discussion of the dewatering SPDES permit.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting here. I'm the owner of Tri-State Civil Construction. We are the dewatering contractor for this project. We're going to go over a few slides in the next few minutes, talk about particularly dewatering for this project. The first slides, we're going to talk about the just go over the overview of the site conditions, some key points, and the next gonna mainly focus on the permits, particularly it's called the SPDES permits. Next slides, please.
Yep, we are, shoot. Okay. Okay.
All right, we're back. I'm sorry, guys. So the SPDES permit is New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We also call it NYSDEC. For this project, we're gonna have 2 phases of dewatering. Phase 1 is mainly for the onshore substation foundations. The estimated flow is up to 1,000 gallons per minute. The water will be treated with a temporary filtration system before discharge. The discharge water is gonna go to a New York City combined sewer and overflows eventually through a 24-inch connection and leads to an outfall number 22, goes to the Gowanus Bay. In phase 2, we're gonna install deep well system.
My
And-
apologies.
Yeah, no worries. So the phase 2, the deep wells will be installed for dock bank work. Just give me another minute. Yeah. All right. So the estimated flow again is up to 1,000 gallons per minute. It's a same approach. The water will be treated before discharge, and this water gonna eventually go to outfall number 25, go to Gowanus Bay. All right, next slide, please. Yeah, next slides. Okay, so this is the map showing approximately work area. As you can see, is at the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal. Just give you a little bit background of the site. Back in 1800s, this entire area is still a shoreline. The shoreline was a setback at 3rd Avenue. And by 1950s, the shoreline was extended another block to the 2nd Avenue. And the entire area has been backfilled with a miscellaneous, from unknown sources. So that's the background of the site condition. And next slide, please. And I'm just gonna go over these couple points quickly. The water source for this location is the upper New York Bay. Also, we call here is the Gowanus Bay. So mainly construction, we kind of briefly touched a couple slides before, was one is the onshore substation. And the second phase is the dock band utility trenches. Both excavations, they have some foundations structures goes below the water table, which requires dewatering. Again, we're gonna use combination of sumps. Typically, sumps is to control shallow water, and we also gonna install deep wells for the deeper excavations. And the estimated peak flow is 1,000 gallons per minute. The next bullet tells you this location is considered brownfield for people have less experience. I explained the brownfield is typically it's a contaminated site. Is it defined by New York City, and the city trying to redevelop those these brownfield locations to benefit the communities. Also, no open spills were found from the online spill database within this project's dewatering work area or radius inference. So open spills is typically referred to those chemical or petroleum incidents happen at this area that can impact the waters. So there's no open spills around here. Also, the extracted water will be treated like we discussed prior discharge, and the discharge will go to the public outfalls back to the Gowanus Bay. Next slide.
Sure.
This map basically showing you the phase 1 area, and it's called the onshore substation. So you know the general idea of the location. Next slide. Again, this basically the layout drawings showing more details. I'm not gonna name each individual structures. It's basically different buildings and some control rooms, reactors, and transformers. They're gonna build on top of this foundation. And you can see some dots showing some localized dewatering systems with a header pipes running around the entire perimeter, with a treatment system set up on the side, and the water gonna connect to the treatment system. The water will be treated before discharge. Next slide. And this layout showing the phase 2 work, the straight line coming diagonal down to the 29th Avenue is showing over about 1,000 feet of dock bank work we need to build. And certain sections are going very deep, and therefore we are installing some deep well systems to extract the water to lower the water table. Next slide. This slide is gonna give you a summary about how we're approaching the permits. We have to get 2 permits. One is from New York State DEC, the SPDES permit. The SPDES permits allow you to discharge water. Before you discharge water, you have to meet the discharge criteria. In other words, you cannot pump dirty water into the open body water. So that's the reason we're gonna set up a treatment system. It's also called a filtration system. All the contaminants will be filtered during the process before discharge. Second permit is controlled by New York City. The New York City owns all the public sewers. So after the water is extracted from the ground, the water has to be treated after you treat it, we're gonna pump the water through the New York City owned combined sewer, which leads to the outfalls. Next slide. Yeah, again, this is another map showing the 2 outfall locations. You can see the outfall location 22 is more for the phase 1 work. The outfall 25 is going to be covering the phase 2 work. Next slide. Now it's a little bit details about the SPDES permit, what it covers in the package. After we set up the design, have the design ready, we have to put the package together called an application package and send it into DEC, which contains all the detailed information about, the layouts, where the discharge system is gonna be, where the treatment system is gonna be, where, the water gonna go discharge to. And particularly, we're also gonna show 2 500-gallon-per-minute groundwater treatment systems at each discharge locations. And the system, we will show the details of each components, including saturating tanks, carbon vessels, filter back skids. Each component is gonna remove certain type of contaminants before we discharge. And also in the end, we're gonna talk about the called a PPP plan, which is public participation plan. We talk about the surrounding communities, the impacts, and also we're gonna talk about the air quality climate change analysis to be included in the entire package. Next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. I'm Holly Welsh. I am with Equinor. Hopefully on your screen, everyone should be able to see. It is our our email address. If anyone would like to send us questions, they can be sent or has any kind of inquiries at empirewind@equinor.com. Also, a copy of this recording will be put on our website, which is empirewind.com. You can see both of those on your screen. If anyone has any questions, please type them into the Q&A tab on your screen, and we will be fielding questions right now. All right, thank you, and thank you, Josh, as well. The first question I see is from Liz. It says, when and where will the recording be available? And the recording, I guess I answered the question. The recording will be available at that empirewind.com. And Ashley, can you expand on that, please?
Sure, no problem. Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Ball. I'm the Director of Community Affairs at Equinor for the Empire Wind 1 project. As soon as we download the videos from Zoom, we will be adding them to the website, and we will also be sharing them in the next Empire Energizer that will likely go out in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. Do we have any additional questions? Thank you. All right, well, we will keep the Q&A open for a little bit in case anyone, any of our participants have any additional questions. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for your interest in Empire Wind. We're very excited to be bringing you offshore wind to New York market. The clock on my end shows it's a little bit before 8 o'clock. We will keep the questions open for a little bit longer in case anyone has any additional questions. Okay, here's another question. Can you elaborate on the last slide? We can go back up here, the one before the question. I believe it's this, the industrial discharge slide. Sean, if you could go through a little bit more detail regarding how the dewatering process is going to work at the site.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem. So the dewatering will be conducted in two different phases. Phase one is for the onshore substation foundations, which including different structures with a different excavation depths. And most of the structures foundation gonna go underneath the groundwater. So in order to build a foundation, we have to lower the water table, and that's where we have to come in to install called a construction dewatering system. For the foundation structures, most of the excavation is just few feet below the water table. It's not very deep, so we can use localized sumps. Basically set up the pumps, connect to the hoses, PVC pipes, and we're gonna start connecting the system together and pumping the water. The water gonna go through a temporary treatment system, which is capable to handle up to 1,000 gallon per minute flow. Then the water, a lot of times, especially for this site, is contaminated, and then New York State DEC requires a SPDES permit. Basically require you to treat the water prior to discharge. So we're gonna pump the water through a treatment system. The treatment system will remove all the contaminants to purify the water. At the time of discharge, is basically the water quality is almost meeting drinking water standards. We have two locations for discharge. one is for the foundation work. The second location, like I explained before, is for the duct bank work, which is a little bit deeper. That's where we're gonna have some deep wells installed. So that's the overall view of the dewatering, if that helps.
Thank you, Sean. And Erica, if you have, hopefully that answered your questions. If not, I am still monitoring the Q&A. I'm going to go back to the question slot. Okay, we will, I'm showing we're just coming up on 8 o'clock. We will give it a few more minutes and see if there are any additional questions. Okay, we're gonna give it just
Holly,
another, yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Holly.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm gonna give it just another minute or two for questions, and then, but we wanted to thank our speakers today, Josh Berloon and Sean Zhu. Thank you for your questions. And again, if anyone has any additional questions, they can be sent to empirewind@equinor.com. A copy of this recording will be on, once it is available, will be on empirewind.com, which is our website. I do see a late question that says, what monitoring requirements are typically in a SPDES permit for a project like this? We monitor the effluent or the water that is going prior to being discharged. The parameters that the water needs to be monitored for are determined by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Okay, I don't see any additional questions. Whoop, just making sure. Oh, thank you, Erica. Okay, I don't see any additional questions. Just
That might be it, Holly. We can give it about another minute or so just to make sure.
yeah.
But I would like to echo your thanks to Josh and Sean and all the other presenters tonight. This has been a really, really informative presentation.
Okay, and just a reminder, if anyone didn't catch the entire presentation, the recording will be made available. It takes a little, just a small amount of time to download it from Zoom, and then it will be posted on our website, which is that empirewind.com, that you should be able to see on your screen right now. Any questions can be addressed, late questions can be addressed to empirewind@equinor.com. Thank you all. Have a nice evening. And thank you for your interest in Empire Wind.
Thank you all, and remember there will be a recording available on the website soon. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody. And have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Arch
Thank
Street.
you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
All the best.